Hello and welcome to another episode of Autogefühl. Today with me, AJ and Jonas. On today's show, we are here in the R&D and Design Center of Mercedes in Sindelfingen, and check out what we have here. This is the new MBUX, the new user interface that we'll see in the upcoming Mercedes S-Class. So join us as we take an in-depth look at what's new and some of the first-in-class technology that this new user interface is about to bring.
Let me first give you a short overview. The most significant change for the new MBUX, which will make its appearance in the new S-Class, is the huge central vertical display with touch only. Secondly, the instrument cluster can be viewed in 3D. This is tricky to catch on camera, but the human eye will see a stereoscopic 3D image. Thirdly, the head-up display now enables augmented reality, so you can, for example, see arrows displayed as they would be on the road in your line of sight. Finally, individual users will have their own user accounts to personalize their MBUX settings. Let's now dig into the details.
So Ozan, now we're in the driver's seat, I'm in the throne. A lot of exciting stuff to go through here. So let's start by talking about the instrument cluster over here. So what is new about this?
So what's new is, which is also first to market and will be very important for us, is the 3D ability of the instrument cluster.
Right.
Now you might know this from the movies, from your TV, where you put on glasses and you have to really create that 3D effect with the glasses. Here we can do it without. So this is also the big innovation here. We have a full screen instrument cluster that is capable of 3D graphics, which adds another dimension.
Absolutely.
And gives us much more possibility.
Yeah, so I activate that by tapping on this over here, and now it says 3D mode on, and wow, it's incredible. Unfortunately, you guys on the watching this at home on YouTube, you will not be able to experience this because there are cameras here, right? There's a stereoscopic camera right here in this notch, which is tracking my eyes, and it's projecting two images in accordance with that. So if I tilt my head, and the image is shifting based on that. So this 3D view is only for me, and I totally agree with you because when you're looking at the navigation, even if you're going around a roundabout or something simple and basic like that, you always have to try to connect in your mind, what you see on the screen versus what's really happening. Even this quote-unquote 3D view of the map that even you guys had before, right? You kind of have to correlate and extrapolate that information to what you're actually driving. But now with this three-dimensional view, it's a lot more intuitive because it's like you're kind of following like a top-down, like from a drone view in the real world, because you have a lot of 3D projections of the buildings and the surroundings as you're driving through. So I know that you guys have also partnered with NVIDIA, so they're supplying a lot of the hardware, the autonomous chips. Of course, you're using your own software and your software providers for the rest of this, so really impressive technology. But what else is there applicabilities for the 3D view apart from just the map?
So we also have a lot of context.
Right.
So as you also know from the full screen in the 2018 A-Class, we have a lot of context. The contexts are smarter now. They're more intelligent. So you will also see into the 3D view here, your, for example, calendar information and maybe meetings you have to reach with the navigation. But also we have used this 3D then especially on the sport view here, where you kind of really go into the screen and you have...
like I'm warping through like a tunnel. Yeah, it's really interesting. I have a G-force meter, engine data. I'm a bit of a true enthusiast or a connoisseur when it comes to sports cars, and for me, it's going to be a little bit hard to deviate from having my two analog dials with the tach and the speedo. But I mean, this is like a video game. It's so interesting, and it is fairly intuitive because right now, of course, there's no engine, there's no throttle pedal, there's no animation. But from the video that I saw earlier in your presentation, how the red lights, the graphics kind of come closer, it is very interesting. But I must say, these trackpads, of course, my wrist is broken. Sorry, viewers, I apologize. I had a paragliding accident, so I've kind of injured my leg and my wrist, so I can't really operate this. But with this one as well, I personally would have liked maybe nice metal knurled balls here, which which click when I go left, right, or up and down. But these capacitive pads are what I'm going to use to navigate through the menus. They don't provide any haptic feedback, right? I don't feel any haptic feedback on the steering wheel pads.
No, you have direct control with the finger navigation.
Right, okay.
Here you or you with a thumb, like known from the A-class. We extended it also to the continuous development of the MBUX because we got a lot of good feedback about it, and especially that you get used to controlling your features with that. And of course, the same behavior left for the instrument cluster and right for the central display. So we kept a lot of the good DNA from the MBUX from 2018.
So the steering wheel has some buttons, for example, to go to the home screen. Also this capacitive slider to, for example, go to the different views. And then as you can see, it's a lot more different in this dynamic view because of that 3D effect that they're trying to achieve. A totally different design, but also you can swipe through them with the touchpad. Okay. Yeah, I also like the subtle changes you've made to this, like for example, this understated view. You know, Mercedes is all about understated luxury. You're not trying to be loud. There's nothing frivolous about it. So I also like the small little hills animated in the back that move as you slowly drive through them, the stars in the sky. So it's very relaxing. And this 3D view, you've got to try it to experience it. You're premiering the all-new S-Class sometime in September, I believe. So if anybody's interested in playing with this, go to your nearest Mercedes dealer and just say, give me the keys to the new S-Class, and sit inside and play with this 3D view. You will let your imaginations go wild. I think it's really, definitely one of my highlights from this tech. Wow. All right, so what else do we have apart from this 3D view? I have to keep taking my glasses off because of the mask, it gets fogged up. So apart from this new 3D view on the instrument cluster, we have a totally different orientation for the head unit. You know, before it was more horizontal up here. Now, I mean, of course, this capsule you're using to showcase the new design is more just wrapped around this MBUX these tablets and these screens. But of course, I can somehow envision the new S-Class to also be similar because this takes up quite a large portion of the center console. There is no trackpad anymore. Of course, to mixed opinions, the climate control is also now completely part of the touchscreen. You do have actual buttons over here. So maybe let's start with this. So this is to log in, right? So this is a fingerprint sensor. All right, fingerprint Thomas, all right. So I say yes. And
so it's continuously improving the scan of your finger and it's getting more accurate. And it can be used as a personalization identification. Yeah. So if you have your profile index in this car, and this is exactly what you're right now doing. So you're adding your fingerprint here to your profile. So next time, if someone else is logged in and you want to log back in as you, as the profile here on the top, then you can just use your finger. It's that simple. Yeah.
Wow, I look very dashing. Okay, so like if you're sharing this car with your family, so you know a couple or a family with maybe 3 people who are going to drive, I would log out when I leave.
Exactly.
And then when I come in, everybody can have their, okay, so you're logging out, and then I can sign in easily. And then the seat settings, the navigation map view, my personalized audio profile, and all of the whatever other things it will automatically do. And I also remember that, Guten Tag, Thomas. Okay, fantastic. So Thomas, Thomas is busy, so okay. But I also understand that it doesn't necessarily have to be in my car. Of course, the personal data like fingerprints will never be shared on the cloud, but I'm creating my Mercedes, my MBUX account, correct?
Exactly.
Which is synced in the cloud. So if I were to pick up somebody else's S-Class, or I was driving a rental Mercedes in the future, I can log in in any car with my account, and then that car will personalize itself with my settings, these 100 variables that you were talking about, 800 variables.
800, exactly. So apart from the finger identification, you can also use the voice recognition and also the face recognition. All these types of identifications will stay in the car to keep your data safe here. And whatever you change in the UI will then be transferred to your Connect Me account, Mercedes Me account. And if you log in with this account on a different car, you can just refresh the data and you can just load the data from your profile, from the back end, and you can directly start driving.
Fantastic. So let's talk a little bit about the screen. Now it senses when I'm coming close to it. So for example, right now I'm looking at the screen, now you're looking at the screen, so the car is turning towards you. If I come close to it, now it's the logos are kind of tilting towards me.
Exactly. If you get closer with your hand, it learns and it understands that you want to control the central display right now. So it will directly shift the icons to you to show you what it's detected.
And these have a nice clunky haptic feedback, which I really liked. So I think last year I said I drove several of the new Audi flagship SUVs. Jonas and I, we did the Q8 and so on, and I really liked their system, which had a big screen here and bottom down here, which had haptic feedback. And I was like, okay, haptic feedback is a must, I think, in the future. And it's great to see you guys have also, it is a nice deep clunk, which really feels like I'm pressing something very similar to this button over here. So I think it's a great way to do this.
Exactly. So especially for those features that you might want to control while not looking at it.
Correct.
It's always good to have some haptic, almost mechanical feedback. And we can do that here also because we have the OLED technology, so organic LED technology, which can make the display very, very slim.
Right.
Yeah. So, and also, of course, the image quality of OLED displays speak for themselves, speak for itself. Yeah.
So another new technology that you guys have, you were telling me earlier, is the Hey Mercedes voice command. So now it's a little bit more, better with natural language. You can give direct commands, and you can also string multiple commands back to back. So you don't have to wait for it to execute one command to start with, again, the wake up voice, and then continue with a second command, right?
Exactly. That's something we can just try right now. So the chaining has to be initiated once, and only in the beginning with Hey Mercedes, or of course in the language you're using. And after that, you can wait after the action has been done and then just follow with your next command. So you don't have to reinitialize the speech assistant all the time. We can just try that right now. Hey Mercedes.
How can I help?
Show me the map. And change the ambient light to red.
Okay, I'm changing the color.
Yeah, I also like that when you're giving the command, just the lights around your area, like we talked about before, is lighting up. So it's very interesting. Another thing apart from this that you were telling me earlier is the interior assistant. So this also tracks my gestures within the car and then will intuitively let me change these settings. So if I wanted to change the sunroof, I just gesture like this or open it like this. If I reach for something down here, the ambient light in that footwell will turn on by itself. If I look at the rear view mirror, it'll automatically, and then start using the button to change it, it will automatically recognize that I'm trying to change that mirror, and then will adapt that. I think it's a great, it makes life a lot easier. It's a lot more intuitive. So what other things do you see that perhaps you can bring with this kind of tech after whatever these examples that you've shown me already? I think also in the back with the window, the sunshade.
Yes.
You go reverse.
So there's also one thing that is very intelligent and that can be used when you're driving in reverse. So if you're setting the reverse gear and you're looking back, the system will automatically recognize that you want to drive backwards. So if you have the shades down and you cannot see out of the window, it will automatically put them up.
Yeah.
If you don't tilt your head, it will just keep them, because then you can also use the parking image here and do your reverse driving with that. So you don't need to put them up.
Okay, well, I think it's fantastic. So the last thing, which we've been saving the best for last, in my opinion, is the augmented reality. All right, so now this is the first ever augmented reality head-up display that Mercedes is going to roll out in its new S-Class. So this, of course, adds on so much more functionality than the standard head-up display. So it shows you your speed and your, the traffic light recognition, the assistance systems that you have, the basic things. But in addition to that, there's a whole new world of different interactions and animations possible. The example you see right now is the navigation. So these arrows will be floating in space in augmented reality in front of you, going forward, skipping ahead, showing you where you have to turn left and right. There's also the cameras that are tracking your eyes, so the way you tilt your head and move your head will also, impact the way this animation is rolling. It also will give you a much more intuitive way to understand your assistance systems. So for example, if you're driving with your adaptive cruise control and you want to change the distance with the car that you're maintaining in the front, then you can see, an animation of, for example, a green line that's being drawn to the car in front. And in that way, you can see exactly how far you want to maintain the distance, and just generally the interaction with reality and animation through this AR technology, I think is a whole new, changes the game, and we can expect this in the S-Class, and I'm really excited about it. So walk me through what makes the back seat special. I see two different personas, so each seat can have their own user account. So let's say I'm operating with this user over here, and I don't want to use the touchscreen because it's a little bit far. I see that I can also use this tablet to control it. So maybe you can walk me through what are the basic features in this.
So, like you said, we took a lot of feedback from the MBUX from 2018 and kept the DNA, which is very important, and added some more natural features and extending it also to the back seat, because also in the S-Class, it's the VIP, usually sitting in the back seat.
Mm-hmm. As you can see.
Exactly. So we have this tablet 7-inch screen here, which you can use to remotely control with the same look and feel of MBUX.
So apart from sending the navigation instructions to the driver, I also see that I can, first of all, see what the other, the driver and the passenger are listening to or watching, and I can also share this with them, right? So if I long press, I can share it with everyone, so then it'll play not just on my headphones, but in the rest of the car speakers.
Yeah.
Or if I share it with the rear, then they will also be projected on their screen. So in this way, everybody has their own little bubble of media and entertainment, but somebody can also share and play the music or the media throughout the rest of the cabin.
Exactly. It's just when you find a nice song you want to share in the car with the other passengers, just share it with this sharing feature between the seats. You can also have features like privacy, if you want to keep your content to yourself and not make it visible to the other seats. And you can also have a parental control from the front if you don't want your kids to change the media and just want to define it for the.
So there's a lot of really nice ambient lighting, and I think you were telling me earlier, this light, the sound, everything is designed to be very intuitive, connecting me with the car in a very human way, right? Something that I can intuitively understand. So if I were to give a "Hey Mercedes" command, then the lights around me would spark up. I could see the waveform of the audio around just my little bubble. So things like that, right? So maybe you can tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so what we wanted to do is really to have a natural feeling in the car. So the car reacts how you expect it to react. So if you are talking to the speech assistant from the back will illuminate. So you know where it's being talked to. So we use all our sensors and all our devices in the car to signalize what action is being done and where it's done.
Okay, so now I'm also in these user profiles. So of course I'm not as dashing as Marco over here, our persona, but if I were to sit in the left seat, but then we stop for a break and I go to the right seat, I want to carry over my media, my phone connectivity, my settings for the seat. So I can just select, maybe I'm Thomas now, correct?
So,
but there's already logged in another
exactly.
seat. Okay.
So we have 3 persons, we have 3 profiles, and we have 3 units that are being controlled here. So
correct.
We have already distributed them to the different MBUX devices here. So in the front on the central display you have Thomas. Here where you are sitting, it's Marco, and to the right is Jessica.
Okay, Jonas and Jessica. I can see the resemblance there. Long hair and the J in the name. All right. So it's how does the system recognize when, let's say I'm the driver, so I'm Marco and I'm driving. but then after a break, I want to come and sit in the back seat and relax for a while. So was there facial recognition or something which will recognize that I've moved from the front seat to the back seat?
So you will be able to select your profile from the back with your PIN. Yeah. So you can connect your Connect Me account as well here, your profile here, that is then being stored in the cloud with your most important settings. We have at around 800 setting parameters, which is quite a lot.
800.
I'm not sure if we can go through all of them.
Yeah, no way. My car outside has 2. It's on off for the engine. That's the only parameter I can select.
And in the front, we have even more advanced ways to identify yourself.
All right, so anything else in the back that you want to highlight, or should we go to the front and check out the fun stuff there?
Before we switch to the fun stuff, maybe switch to work first. So there is also an in-car office in the back. Of course, you will not always use entertainment in the back. Sometimes you have to do things.
Unfortunately.
So we can also do that. There's an in-car office. You can use the in-car office. And you can check your calendar, you can check your emails, your tasks and calls. So you can check all work-related stuff. So we really want to have a work-life area also in the back, where you can basically do both. Yeah, you can work, you can also use entertainment with your headphones, like you previously stated. It's all integrated, it's all designed for the passenger in the back who can do everything he knows from MBUX. Yeah.
Fantastic. All right. Let's summarize today's show about the new MBUX. I personally think that it's come quite a long way. Of course, some of the new technology is stuff that we can expect, and we've already seen in some other competitor vehicles before, like the haptic feedback on the touchscreen. The central display, I also like that they have now shifted to a more vertical, rectangular, or rather a square-like display rather than the long horizontal one before. Much more modern, yes. I think we're going to have to start getting used to controlling the air conditioning on the touchscreen rather than having actual physical buttons and knobs. I also would have liked a little bit more physical buttons on the steering wheel, or at least rollers for these navigation. These haptic feedback is not always the best. But nevertheless, incremental upgrades, which is always welcome. But I think to me, the 2 big takeaway features, and are also these 2 features are the first to market, would be the 3D view for the instrument cluster, which I think looks really great. Everybody might not be interested in that. It's like watching a 3D movie. Sometimes it's a little bit, can give you a headache, I guess, but time will tell. I've never driven this, none of us have, so we'll see how that fares in the real world. The other thing which I really am excited about is the augmented reality head-up display, projecting your navigation, your media, or whatever other information that is useful onto the windshield, and in that those objects interact in the real space. That's something that I'm really excited to try out. The new S-Class will be out in September of this year. Stay tuned, subscribe to Autogefühl so you can watch our coverage of that event. Let me know what you guys think. Do you like this new technology? Do you like where this is headed? Do you like the 3D and the augmented reality? Tell me, put it down in the comments below.